going to move straight into our meeting for members and directors, the New York State Affordable Housing Finance Agency, New York State Affordable Housing Corporation, State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, and the State of New York Mortgage Agency. I'm going to turn things over to Adam Schuman, who will take the requisite legal steps to formally open our meetings.
All right, let me note that Elaine McCann, representing Budget Director Mary Beth LeBate, Linda Baldwin, representing Cesar Perales, Secretary of State, Eric Mostert, Chief Fiscal Officer, representing Commissioner Jerry Boone from Taxation and Finance, are participating in the meeting via video conference from the New York State Division of Budget Conference Center at the Capitol Building, room 131 in Albany. I'll ask for motions and seconds to call to order the December 10, 2015 meetings of the New York State Housing Finance Agency, the New York State Affordable Housing Corporation, the State of New York Mortgage Agency, the State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, and the Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation. Motions for HFA and AHC. And second.
So moved.
Motion for SONYMA and a second. Motions for MBBA and TSFC and a second.
So moved.
Second.
As items are presented to each board throughout today's meetings, these motions and seconds will be used unless specific items call for a different vote or unless any board member or director wishes to record his or her vote differently. I now turn things over to President Rubin for his president's report.
Which I have somewhere. Pardon me for one moment. I have my president's report. Thank you. Usually can't read it on my phone. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Cheating by looking ahead to the end. We have a lot to report on because we just did a bunch of committee meetings. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it's been an active board meeting, set of committees already, and an active month or whatever it is since the last meeting. Briefly, earlier this morning, Mortgage Insurance Committee approved 10 items in insurance for 8 projects, representing over 1,100 units of affordable housing located in Albany, Erie, Bronx, and Kings counties. We also approved insurance for scattered site group housing, which serves 47 residents. In Suffolk County, at HFA, we would be seeking your approval for 2 multifamily projects with over $20 million in bond financing, representing 138 units of affordable senior housing in Dutchess and Tompkins counties. AHC, you're going to look at awards over $4 million for 148 units, and a $1.8 million 2013 award in Harlem for 40 units of housing. There are a number of administrative items: board self-evaluation, report of the agency's administration of ethics policy, and of course we're going to be asking you to approve the agency's master goal plan, which is a priority of this leadership team, and to allocate funds to modernize the agency's technology and systems, which is absolutely a priority for the agency across the board. On just speaking for myself, I've been traveling around a lot, as always. I actually don't remember where I've been since the last time I saw you all, but a highlight of it, I think, was a day that I spent with Senator Young, Kathy Young, who's the chairperson of the Senate Housing and Construction Committee, which oversees our activity. It was the first time I met her in person. It was a great day. I think I went with Chris Leo, who is our community renewal head up in Albany, and Lenny Skrill from our Buffalo office, and a few others joined us along the way. And we basically traveled the length and breadth of her very large district. I mean, not the entire district, but a lot of her district, which was eye-opening for me because I'd never been out to that part of the state. It's basically, it goes down to almost the Pennsylvania border, essentially. And there are, I would say it's not urban. I mean, it was fascinating. It was a different facet of this agency's work, and really worth it was worth seeing. We saw a number of our Main Street grants. Some of the SIF funding, I think, was at work. I mean, obviously some of the sort of standard housing funding from years past, and then some opportunities, I think, for some really interesting work in the future. We visited an old RD project that we paid to redo, which is great. But you know, this is like real rural housing in areas of deep rural poverty. Very different from what you see in some of the other places that we work in the state. And it was the work is clearly extraordinarily important to Senator Young. She's a huge supporter of a lot of those programs, all those programs, I think, and clearly has a deep respect for the work that this agency has done over time. And she's been active here for long enough, and she's seen a lot of it evolve, so it's great. She's a real, I think, is going to be a real ally of ours as we move forward into the budget season. So it was really time well spent. We've had meetings in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Buffalo, Rochester, Albany, and Watertown, to name a few. We've had staff represented at a number of groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings, which is terrific. I can't remember which of those I've done since the last time I saw you, but I'm sure there have been some. And I've got one on Friday up in Albany. There was a Plattsburgh event that we actually had the Lieutenant Governor at last week. It was last week or this week. So the usual mix of celebrations of the agencies and all of your good work. Spent a lot of time, interestingly, I'll come back to this in the end. A couple weeks ago, I presented service awards to employees at I think all of our locations, or at most of our locations. And I talked a lot at that time about how impressed I've been by the dedication and commitment of everybody that I've worked with thus far. It did point up the number of them that I was presenting, pointed up an important thing that I think we all have to be aware of, which is that this agency has a very, very large group of very, very experienced employees who, at some point are not going to be working here anymore, and it has got to be a priority of ours to make sure that when they decide to retire, they're replaced by people who know what they're doing. We have a terrific group of young and mid-level employees here as well, but that group has to continue to expand. Just to state the obvious, but that's a challenge of any big institution. It's a challenge of all the small institutions, but it's a challenge of big institutions, in particular in government. And there's an enormous amount of deep knowledge, area knowledge, represented in all the people that I presented those service awards to last week. We can't lose it as people exit. We can make up for 1 or 2 people leaving, but you can't make up for 40 people leaving in a year. It becomes an obstacle to performance. So that brought it home for me. But it was a terrific 3 days. I was at Gertz, Albany, and then we did it here at 641. I spent time last week in Newburgh and Mid-Hudson, talking with the group roundtable discussion hosted by Pattern for Progress. Talked about their work with the agency in the Mid-Hudson Valley, which was great. And then we had our most recent agency-wide town hall a couple of weeks ago, where we had a presentation from the Fair Housing Justice Center, which is sort of the leading, in the city at least, the leading anti-discrimination agency. They bring a lot of the anti-discrimination cases here in the city. They train testers and then send them out into the field to identify areas where there is housing discrimination against, obviously, against minorities and of all kinds. It was I can tell you that it was first of all, it was a very moving experience to see the video and then hear from Fred Freiberg, who's really the leader in this space. You should know that Adam Schuman and some folks from his office have been spending a lot of time with that community in the last, 3 months, something like that, with the support of the chamber and Alfonso Davis, who's counsel to the governor, to whom this area is extremely important. We've been working a lot with them to find ways for this agency to get much more actively involved in anti-discrimination efforts, sort of to match our commitment that the TPU has been making on tenant protection. We are going to be doing that. We are doing our best to work with our sister agencies, but where that doesn't work, we're just going to forge ahead and do it ourselves. I suspect that you'll see that more outside of New York City than you'll see it inside of New York City. I think outside New York City, the field is nicely covered by people like Fred Freiberg and others. What we can do, we can do. But I think what we should be doing is filling gaps where there are some. And so Adam has been spending a lot of time on this. I think we're going to be announcing something soon. Yeah. Then we'll be able to fly the flag. I think it is a really, really important initiative on this agency's part, and fits perfectly with the governor's commitments and the kind of work that we do in other areas. So more on that later. I'm pleased and proud of it. And then finally, and this doesn't really affect, this is just something that I've been doing. There's been a little bit of attention to it in the press, but the governor's been focusing a lot on the issue of homelessness in the last month or so. He's been focusing on it for the last 30 years because he back to help, but before help, I saw Mayor Dinkins yesterday, and we talked about this. The governor chaired the Dinkins Commission on Homelessness, and he wrote this report called The Way Home, which still influences a lot of how we deal with, how we treat the homeless nationwide. There's been some, it's been in the paper some because the mayor is so focused on it, obviously. The governor is increasingly focused. And there's been a group of people working at the governor's direction that have focused to bring together all of the state's activities around solving homelessness, which are substantial but are spread across a number of agencies, and present to him some ideas that he will then make public, probably around the state of the state. I'm saying what he's already said publicly, to make it clear what the state's commitment is going forward. Obviously, this agency plays a major part in that because we finance so much of the supportive housing of all kinds throughout the state. And I would expect that that role is only going to increase. And I think it's a sign of the governor's recognition of the important work that the state agency does, that he asked me to be part of this group. It's me and basically two or three people from the chamber and a couple of outside people who have been convening meetings on this subject. Brett Garwood and Marion and their team have been helping support this because obviously they're the ones that are closest to the work that we do through New York 1, 2, and 3, really 3. So again, more on that later. I would hope that this agency is going to play, bless you, is going to play a lead role in whatever the governor announces. And again, very consistent with the work we do everywhere. New York City's part of it, but clearly there's a lot of upstate as well. I mean, homelessness is a statewide problem, urban, rural, and everything else. And again, that fits our mission. So. All, I think, good stuff. This agency is really leading the way in a lot of very important areas. I think that is basically my report. Adam, back to you.
Thank you. Adam, committee actions.
First, I'll report on the Mortgage Insurance Committee, which took the following actions earlier this morning. It adopted the minutes of the November 12, 2015 meeting, recommended approval of 50% mortgage insurance on an $11,160,000 HDC permanent first mortgage loan for 1345 Rogers Avenue, Brooklyn, Kings County. The committee approved 50% mortgage insurance on a $5,950,000 HDC permanent first mortgage loan for Monsignor Jarker Hall, Brooklyn, Kings County. The committee recommended 100% mortgage insurance on a $7,290,557 Enterprise Community Loan Fund, Inc. permanent first mortgage loan for CHS Year 15 portfolio, Brooklyn, Kings County. The committee approved 100% mortgage insurance on a $2,976,993 LISC permanent first mortgage loan for Kings Covenant, which is 9 scattered site buildings in Brooklyn, Kings County. The committee approved 100% mortgage insurance on a $3,716,294 Citibank NA permanent first mortgage loan for 695 Grand Street residential condominium unit, as well as a $3,404,000 permanent first mortgage loan for the same property commercial condominium unit in Brooklyn, Kings County. Committee recommended approval of 100% mortgage insurance on a $12,420,000 CPC permanent first mortgage loan for 796 East 163rd Street et al., Bronx County. It recommended approval of 100% mortgage insurance on an $11,450,000 CPC permanent first mortgage loan for 1 South Street, Buffalo, Erie County. The committee recommended approval of 100% mortgage insurance on a $7,300,000 CPC permanent first mortgage loan for 20 Park Street, Albany, County. And last, the committee approved 100% mortgage insurance on a $3,420,000 CPC permanent first mortgage loan for 930 North Putnam Avenue, Lindenhurst, and 8 other scattered site properties in Suffolk County. Next, I'll report on the audit committees for the 5 authorities. Earlier in the day, those audit committees took the following actions. They each adopted minutes. All 5 committees adopted a resolution reviewing and approving internal audit staff functions. The Sunny May Committee approved a resolution approving Sunny May's servicer audit of Community Bank, together with management's response. And last, the Sunny May Committee approved a resolution approving New York Higher Education Loan Program audit. Next, I'll report on the Governance Committee for the 5 authorities. Earlier in the day, these committees met and took the following actions. They each adopted minutes. All 5 committees adopted a resolution recommending the approval of the agency's master goal plan. All 5 committees adopted a resolution approving the governance committee action plan. All 5 committees adopted a resolution approving salary ranges for senior officers. The HFA, SONYMA, MBBA, TSFC committees approved a resolution to enter into a financial advisor services contracts with firms on the agency's newly established pre-qualified panel. The HFA and SONYMA committees approved a resolution to amend contracts with Info People Corporations and Systems Application Information Network, DBA Computer Resources of America, for information technology consultant services. The HFA committee approved a resolution of contract with Richard Lampert for appraisal and market study consultant services. The SONYMA committee adopted a resolution approving the extension of a contract with Genworth Mortgage Insurance Corporation for administrative services. And all 5 committees received a report on salary adjustments for management confidential staff. And last, all 5 committees received a report on the agency administration of ethics policy. Back to you, Chairman Thompson.
2. Yep. We'll now present to a shared item shared by HFA, AHC, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC. Adam, record the approval of the minutes.
Okay. Item 1, the minutes of the meetings of HFA, AHC, and SONYMA held on November 12, 2015, and those for MBBA and TSFC held on September 10, 2015, shall be deemed approved absent further corrections from members and directors.
Adam will now take the requisite steps to go into executive session.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a motion and a second to go into an executive session pursuant to Section 105F of the Open Meetings Law in order to discuss the financial, credit, or employment history of a particular corporation. Have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Right. Go into executive session now.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like to
because-
make a motion to go back into public session?
Do we have a motion and a second?
Second.
Second.
Yep. Let's note that no votes were taken during executive session.
Two. We'll move to the shared action items. Item 2, approval of funds to be set aside and budgeted for the agency's information technology unit with respect to the business application modernization project. I think we can skip discussion. Adam?
You have the materials. Now before the HFA and SONYMA boards for approval is a resolution of the New York State Housing Finance Agency and the State of New York Mortgage Agency approving use of funds and authorizing a budgetary overage, assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA and SONYMA. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Item 3, a resolution approving a master goal plan.
Okay. Receive these materials now before the 5 boards for approval. There's a resolution of the State of New York Mortgage Agency, New York State Housing Finance Agency, the New York State Affordable Housing Corporation, the State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, and the Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, approving the annual updated and consolidated opportunity and affirmative action plan for 2016-17, the master goal plan. Assuming the first and second previously entered for each of the agencies, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
Let me like to note that the materials in connection with the next item on the agenda were distributed to the board members by separate cover. Item 4, resolution authorizing senior officers' parity increases. HFA, AHC, State Mortgage Agency, MBBA, and TSFC. As to the next item regarding senior officer parity increases, let me ask Commissioner Rubin to discuss it, and obviously we'll hear from the Commissioner whether any contributions to healthcare premiums is contemplated also.
Thank you, Chairman. Members of the board, as set out in the materials provided to the board separately, salary adjustments are recommended for senior officers in accordance with the state's methodology. Earlier today, the Governance Committee received the required yearly report on salary adjustments for management confidential employees who are not senior officers. The chairman asked about healthcare premiums. It is our intention to begin phasing in employee contributions in 2016 for our management confidential employees. Healthcare contributions also are subject of discussion in negotiation with our unionized employees. Do I read this, Sharon?
No, I.
You do.
Further discussion.
Any, is there additional discussion on this item? Comments, questions?
When you say parity, what does that mean? Were they somehow deprived or denied salary increases when other employees were getting?
No.
This is for 2009. This is supposed to be effective in 2009, so it's a retro payment that was,
It's retro.
Yeah.
it's only retro to July of this year, but it was a retro payment.
And it was, I'm sorry, and Sheila, this is Sheila Robinson, and Sheila, it was triggered by what?
Sheila, why don't you come up to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
table?
come on up.
It was triggered by the DOB
Right.
bulletin that was, I think 11/32 that was put out in July,
July of this year.
in this year,
So it's retro 2009.
right,
And it's retroactive to when?
July of 2015.
Questions?
Okay.
Now before all 5 boards for approval is a resolution of the State of New York Mortgage Agency, the New York State Housing Finance Agency, the New York State Affordable Housing Corporation, State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, and the Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, authorizing senior officer parity increases. Assuming the first and second previously entered for each of the agencies, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
Also, just one other thing to make clear to the members of UAW Local 2110, we have received correspondence from your president, and we'll be discussing that with staff also. So just let everybody know that we did receive that. Item number 5. The next item on the agenda is a resolution approving annual and fourth quarter bond sale reports. This is a consent item and there will be no discussion unless directors, members so request. Adam.
Now before the HFA and SONYMA Board is a resolution of the New York State Housing Finance Agency, State of New York Mortgage Agency approving the agency's bond sale reports, assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA and SONYMA. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
We'll now move to the shared information items. There'll be no discussions on the next 2 items on the agenda unless board members, directors so request. Item 6, a review of report on agency administration of ethics policy, and item 7, a board self-evaluation. Okay, there'll be no further items for MBBA and TSFC boards. Adam will ask for motions to adjourn the MBBA and TSFC meetings.
Assuming the first and second previously entered for the MBBA and TSFC boards, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried, the meetings are adjourned. The next MBBA and TSFC meetings are scheduled for Thursday, January 28th, 2016 at 8:30 a.m.
And have a good holiday season.
Happy
holidays,
Same to you.
everybody.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Chairman, happy holiday. I'm not gonna shake your hand.
Yeah, really.
Happy holidays, you guys.
Have a good holiday.
Same thing.
You are in that spirit already, I see.
Yes, I am. Jingle.
Okay, we're now gonna move to the SONYMA action items. Item 8, resolution approving 100% mortgage insurance on a $7,290,557 Enterprise Community Loan Fund Incorporated Permanent First Mortgage Loan for CHS Year 15 Portfolio, Brooklyn, Kings County. Oh, note that this item was discussed earlier at today's Mortgage Insurance Committee meeting and is now up for vote by the State Mortgage Agency Board. There'll be no discussion on this item unless the director so requests. We'll now move on to the votes. Adam.
Now before the board for approval is a resolution of the State of New York Mortgage Agency approving mortgage insurance and a commitment for CHS Year 15 Portfolio, Brooklyn, Kings County. Assuming the first and second previously entered for SONYMA, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Item 9, resolution approving 100% mortgage insurance on a $12,420,000 CPC permanent first mortgage loan for 796 East 163rd Street et al., Bronx County. Note that this item was discussed and voted on earlier today's Mortgage Insurance Committee meeting and is now up for vote by the State Mortgage Agency Board. There'll be no discussion on this item unless the directors so request. We'll now move on to the votes. Adam?
Now before the board for approval is a resolution of the State of New York Mortgage Agency approving mortgage insurance and a commitment for 796 East 163rd Street et al., Bronx County. Assuming the first and second previously entered for Sunny May, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Item 10, resolution approving 100% mortgage insurance on $11,450,000 CPC permanent first mortgage loan for 1 South Street, as known as, or AKA 441 Ohio Street, Buffalo, Erie County. Note that this item was discussed and voted on earlier at today's Mortgage Insurance Committee meeting and is now up for vote by the State Mortgage Agency Board. There'll be no discussion on this item unless the directors so request. We'll now move on to the votes.
Now before the board for approval is a resolution of the State of New York Mortgage Agency approving mortgage insurance and a commitment for the provision thereof for 1 South Street, AKA 441 Ohio Street, Buffalo, Erie County. Assuming the first and second previously entered for Sunny May, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Item 11, resolution approving 100% mortgage insurance on a $7,300,000 CPC permanent first mortgage loan for 20 Park Street, Albany, Albany County. Can I just like do ditto or something like that? Note that this item was discussed and voted on earlier at today's Mortgage Insurance Committee meeting and is now up for vote by the State Mortgage Agency Board. There'll be no discussion on this item unless the director so requests. We'll now move on to the votes.
Now before the board for approval is a resolution of the State of New York Mortgage Agency approving mortgage insurance and a commitment for the provision thereof for 20 Park Street, Albany, Albany County. Assuming the first and second previously entered for Sunny May, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Item 12, note that this item has been withdrawn. The next two items on the agenda are information items. There'll be no discussion on these items unless the director so requests. Item 13, which is review of fourth quarter report, financial status of existing hedges. Item 14, ALCO goals and objectives for the period December of 2015 to March of 2016. There being no further items for the State Mortgage Agency Board, Adam will ask for motions and seconds to adjourn the meeting. Adam?
Assuming the first and second previously entered for the Sunny May Board, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye. Motion's carried. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you. The next board meeting for Sunny May is scheduled for Thursday, January 28, 2016 at 8:30 a.m.
Now we move to the HFA action items. Adam will call to order the Finance and Program Committee of HFA.
Call to order the 51st Finance and Program Committee meeting of HFA, which will be held jointly with the board meeting. Can I have a motion to open the committee meeting in a second?
So moved.
These recorded votes as we move forward.
Get the short chair.
Item 1, the minutes of the 50th meeting of the HFA Finance and Program Committees held on November 12, 2015 shall be deemed approved, absent corrections from the members. Now we move back to the board agenda. Item 15, resolutions authorizing financing approval in amount not to exceed $8,395,000 for Conifer Village at Cayuga Meadows. Yes, sir.
Good morning, everybody. I want you to take a moment, since we didn't really discuss the bond sale report, just to give you an overview of what we've been up to this year so far. We've issued over $2.5 billion of bonds for housing purposes, 2.1 of that on the HFA side, which is to fund 36 mortgages, properties throughout the state. This year we'll finance somewhat over 4,000 affordable units, which is a decrease in the number of units last year, but an increase in the number of projects. And I think indicative of the ever-expanding reach of HFA, what we're seeing is a decrease in the average size of projects from about 174 units last year to 114 this year, which I think is representative of the more upstate, smaller projects that are coming to the agency, also somewhat representative of the very large Michelamas that were moving through our portfolio pipeline last year. So all in all, I think a very good year, a lot to be proud of.
All right, so this resolution is for financing of Conifer Village at Cuga Meadows in the town of Ithaca in Tompkins County. Some context for this project: it is part of the storm recovery program, and it received an award from the CDBG-DR funding source from our colleagues at GOSER earlier this year. It's also part of a Cornell initiative helping to increase and expand the availability of affordable housing, as they recognize in that city a substantial need because of the really active economy in that area. The other thing I wanted to kind of quickly note is we're very active in Ithaca. There's a lot of really good local support, and there's actually 2 other projects, one that was just completed and one that was just awarded, that are family projects, as well as mixed income projects. So we're also doing a variety of interesting things in this area. But this investment is for the new construction of a 68-unit senior rental building on West Hill Drive. It's proximate to some other work that we've done in the past. All the revenue generating units, or 68, will be set aside for seniors up to 50 or over 55 years at 60% of AMI. We're asking for an $8.4 million tax-exempt bonds and $402,000 allocation of tax credits. There's substantial leverage here, mostly from the CDBG-DR program, and this is one of the ways that we've been able to do more bond projects as we've been able to deploy more capital resources. They also have a $170,000 allocation for New York State for NYSERDA. So this will be new construction of a 3-story building with 68 units, 59 one-bedrooms and 9 two-bedrooms. The site is directly across from Cuga Medical Center, which is the only hospital in Tompkins County. There's substantial green infrastructure in this building, including HFA green buildings mandatory requirements, but it's going to receive Enterprise Green certification. 7 of the units will be fully accessible and to the mobility impaired, and 3 will be fully accessible to the hearing and visually impaired. There will be referrals and linkages to services. This is something that we've been talking quite a bit about. How do we link services into senior projects and do some light services so people can age in place and be successful for longer periods of time in senior housing. The developer is Conifer, who we obviously have a lot of experience with. The letter of credit is being provided by First Niagara, the investor is Redstone, and insurance being provided by SONYMA. Are there any questions? Cool.
Now before the committee and board are resolutions to be adopted that were transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the committee, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motions are carried and the resolution adopted. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFA board, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
Item 16, resolutions authorizing financing approval in an amount not to exceed $12,100,000 for Highland Meadows senior residents in the city of Beacon, Dutchess County.
The context of this project is also the storm recovery. We are really moving these projects through our pipeline. This is also an adaptive reuse project in the city of Beacon, which also provides good access to transit from the city. This is the adaptive reuse of a former hospital site for 68 units of senior housing. All 68 units will be available to people under or households under 90% of AMI, with 58 of them available to households under 60% of AMI. We're asking for allocation of $12.1 million of bonds and an allocation of $546,000 of low-income housing tax credits. The allocation of state low-income housing credits has also been made by the commissioner of $576,000, and the award from CDBG-DR was $5.4 million. Another nice feature of this project is it's receiving a grant from the Dyson Foundation that does community development and economic development work, and it's nice to see kind of private foundation work in our financing stack. So this is a 68-unit project with 53 one-bedrooms and 15 two-bedroom units. It's served by the Dutchess County bus system, and it's near the Beacon's Main Street, which is nice as well. It's going to offer a preference for persons with disabilities as well as veterans with special needs, and all the units are going to be ADA compliant. It also has a great tie to services. The offices of St. Francis Hospital or Home Health Services are going to be housed in an annex attached to the project, and they'll be able to provide services to the residents as a result. The developer is Hudson Valley, Peg O'Leary, who we've done work with as well. Letter of credit is provided by Chase. Investor is First Sterling, and insurance will be provided by SONYMA.
Now before the committee and board are resolutions to be adopted that were transmitted in connection with this item. I'll note that Mr. Weiss is recused from this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the committee, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. The motions are carried and the resolution adopted. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFA board, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. The motions are carried and the resolution is adopted.
Now we move to the AHC consent item. Item 17, a resolution authorizing award of grant funds for certain projects and amending a previous approval. This is a consent item, and there'll be no discussion unless members so request.
Now before the board is a resolution of the New York State Affordable Housing Corporation authorizing awards of grant funds for certain projects located outside of the city of New York and amending a prior approval. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the AHC board, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
There being no further items for HFA Finance and Program Committee and the HFA and AHC boards, Adam will ask for motions and seconds to adjourn the meeting.
Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFA Finance and Program Committee, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Motions are carried. The committee meeting is adjourned. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFA and AHC boards, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. The motions are carried. The meetings are adjourned. Next board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, January 2016 at 8:30 a.m. Thank you very much.
Have a great holiday season, everyone.
Everybody.